Cuba's foreign minister is accusing the U.S. of fabricating a, quote, fraudulent case to justify potential military intervention and economic sanctions. The comments follow a report by Axios that accuses the country of acquiring more than 300 drones for an alleged planned strike on the U.S. Axios cited classified intelligence for that report. Meanwhile, the U.S. is ramping up pressure for potential indictment of former President Raul Castro following a visit by CIA Director John Ratcliffe. All right, let's bring in Connor Pfeiffer. He is the Senior Director of Government Relations at FDD Action, the sister group to the Foundation for Defense of Democracies. Connor, thank you so much for joining us. If this report is true, could this be a way of, could Cuba's way of getting involved? Actually, let me backtrack a bit. The U.S. is applying incredible pressure on Cuba right now with the sanctions, with blocking fuel, and yet it's also offering a lifeline. Is it almost like firing a torpedo but offering a life jacket? Can you please contextualize this for us?
Yeah, of course. It's great to be with both of you. So as you mentioned, the U.S. has been engaging in a large-scale economic pressure campaign against the Cuban regime since Maduro was captured in Venezuela in early January. The U.S. has cut off most oil shipments and fuel shipments to the island, which was previously funded and fueled by Venezuela. And then now, in recent weeks, we've seen an escalation in pressure, whether that includes the U.S. decision to impose sanctions on companies that control large parts of Cuba's economy, including GESA and some joint ventures. You now have reports, as you mentioned, of a potential indictment of Raul Castro, the brother of Fidel, former leader of Cuba, that could be coming as soon as this week. And now, of course, the potential threat of Cuban offensive weapons that can threaten the U.S. homeland. And I think what all this illustrates is the fundamental problem that we have with having a regime only 90 miles from Key West that is an anti-American communist regime that is aligned with China, Russia, and Iran. And so it's unfortunate that if you have a situation where a regime like this is able to get weapons from those partners who are adversaries of the United States, then it's an immediate threat to the homeland because of proximity.
But isn't it remarkable that after the U.S. and multiple administrations have tried to get rid of the Castro regime, they're still there? I mean, Raul Castro in this indictment is interesting. The guy is 94 years old. He turns 95 next month. So what is this moment really about? Why bring this pressure now? Cuba says it's a way to impose economic or military sanctions. But from your view, what's special about this moment?
What's special about this moment is that the Cuban regime since the 1959 Cuban Revolution has only survived because of external patrons. First, of course, the Soviet Union. That's why we had the Cuban Missile Crisis. And then after the fall of the Soviet Union, once they got through the 90s, they got support from Hugo Chavez and then Nicolas Maduro's Venezuela. But what happened when the U.S. on January 3rd captured Nicolas Maduro and took control over exports of Venezuela's oil is that suddenly Cuba lost its external patron. And what's important to realize is not only was Venezuela sending fuel to Cuba, but Cuba was taking about half of that fuel and selling it to China and other countries for hard currency. So they were using Venezuelan aid to not only fuel the economy, but also, of course, to line the pockets of the regime and keep the economy afloat. And so what you have now is a unique situation where without any external patron, the U.S. has an opportunity to try to force political and economic change that is long overdue on the island.
Really remarkable. We'll keep watching this. Connor Pfeiffer, thanks for joining us this Monday.
Thank you.